Welcome to The Art of Being Unstoppable, the podcast where women from every walk of life come together to break barriers, embrace their power, and live life on their own terms. I'm your host, Vicki McDougall, and each week we explore inspiring stories, actionable strategies, and empowering conversations to help you step into your confidence, amplify your voice, and create a life without limits. No matter where you are on your journey, this is your space to grow, thrive, and become unstoppable. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Art of Being Unstoppable. And I'm here with this unstoppable, lovely lady today, Adele Marriott. And thank you for joining us today, Adele.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me,
Oh,
Vicky.
you could just talk all day and I could just sit here and listen to your beautiful accent.
And yet we Australians don't believe it's that great.
Ah, it's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Well, I'd like to just share, this is so amazing to me. And I wish when my kids were young that I knew something about what you've created, because I just think that this is amazing. So Adele has a company called Little Finance Builders, and she wants to help our kids learn about money and about finance at a young age and how key it is. So I would really like you to share some of your story with our listeners, Adele. I just love it.
Sure. Sure. I think if you go back to when you're a child and you're sitting around your dinner table, and I would sit around the dinner table. For 7 years, we went without a TV. So our dinners would go for anywhere between 2 to 4 hours. Mum and Dad had a company, a plant nursery in the backyard. They also had other part-time jobs. So we would talk about business, commercial things, money, finance, shares, how to buy stocks, all of that kind of thing. So I thought, this is great. And I started my 20s. I think I was 19 when I opened my first share account. Which
Really?
eventually led to me being able to buy a house. And that was back in the days, mind you. It wasn't online. You had to fill out the paper forms and send them in, phone you broke, all of that. So the hard way. Kids these days have no idea how good they've got it. So I did that, and then I decided to become a single mum. And what I realized at that point in time, there were two things. One, I didn't have a partner that I could just talk to, and have my kids have that subliminal learning coming through without them even realizing it, because I
Right.
had no idea. The second thing I realized was that most families don't actually talk about money or finance at all. At the dinner table, in the car, r
Right.
never.
Yeah.
So for me, I knew what the leg up was that I got and how important it was. And so I thought, no, I've got to do something about this. So my goal is to make sure that all kids, and I'm talking my company's for 3 to 10-year-olds now. Maybe I'll do something for the older kids later, but for now it's 3 to 10-year-olds, and teaching their parents how to start talking to them and having those conversations, building that confidence in them at that young age. So by the time they get to leave home at 18, they've got a really good basic level of financial literacy. Going into their 20s and 30s, they're not having to learn the foundations before then learning all of the bigger stuff, which is what the majority of people do. And you get to your 40s and you're like, oh, I wish I knew that in my 20s.
Right. And when you're
Let's stop
saying
that.
that, to
Yeah.
even just sit around your table and talk about finances
Mm.
with your family,
It's
what
big.
is something that
Yes.
I don't think is the norm, because my dad owned a business.
Right.
My dad worked 2 jobs until he bought his company outright, and then
Mm.
he never talked about business, ever. He never talked about money. He
Yeah.
never talked about stocks and bonds and all of the things that he invested in. I never understood any of that.
Yeah. No, and I think the other thing for my family was my mum's a CPA, and
Mhm.
funnily enough, my younger brother and I also became CPAs. My dad was, in marketing and sales and a commercial manager position, so they were in that world. And so they would just talk about it. So subliminally, when I was really young, I'd pick up on things that I had no idea I was picking up on.
Mhm.
But as we got that little bit older, we started having the more in-depth conversations.
Yeah.
We never knew how much our parents earned, and I believe that's correct. I don't think your children need to know how much you earn,
Yeah.
because $1,000 to you might not seem like a lot, but to a small child, it's like, "Whoa, you're so
Yeah.
rich."
Yeah, wait, because you
So
even say $10 to a small child, and they're like, "Right on, what
you're
can
like,
I
"Oh,
buy at the dollar
$10."
store for
Exactly,
$10?" Right? It's true because they don't have
exactly,
that
exactly.
concept.
No, so there's other ways that you need to then start talking to them and building that confidence, so you know that, "Okay, yep, uh, let's let them make a mistake now," and that mistake might cost $50. But if you don't have that when they're young, when they're 18, 25, they'll be making thousands of dollars for one mistake, you
Yes.
know? I'd rather my kids make a mistake with that lower end of the spectrum money now that they believe is huge,
Yeah,
but make that
absolutely.
mistake now rather than when they're older and it's going to cost them, years to get back potentially.
So you told me this little bit of a story about with your daughters and how they have their allowance or what, and you explained
Mm,
something. So can you share that? Because that is really cool, really interesting. It's
yeah,
not just a piggy bank, it's a thought process. And I just loved how you explained it to me.
it is. Yeah, so before I even started them with their, piggy banks, weeks in advance, I started talking to them about, "Let's do some pocket money, and you'll have your saving and your spending, and there'll be giving in there." For me as a family at the moment, we do giving together, but
Okay.
eventually that will also be a separate jar. But you can do a separate jar from the get-go. Um, and I was talking to my no, not my youngest, my oldest daughter, and she's 3 years old, about would be doing saving and spending. And I would be giving her $3 a week, and she was 3 years old, so
Hmm.
$3 a week, and she needed to put that money in the jars. It wasn't up to me. The only rule we have is that at least 1 coin has to go in each jar, and then they can split it. And it was really interesting, talking about the saving and spending with her. To this day, and this is, gosh, how old is she? Gosh, we're coming up to 5 years. Um, Around 2/3 of her pocket money still goes to savings.
Really?
It's really interesting, yeah, and the younger one has kind of followed in the same footsteps. If there's something they know they wanna buy at the shop, they'll put a little bit more in their spending jar. But on the whole, yeah, around 2/3 goes into there. Around 6 weeks into giving my oldest the $3 a week in pocket
Yeah.
money, I said to her it was a Thursday night, she had daycare on the Friday, and I said, "Okay, you've got 1 more day of daycare and then it's the weekend, and so why don't you think about what you wanna do on the weekend, and you let mummy know." She didn't even hesitate. She said, "Mummy, I know what I wanna do." I'm like, "What do you wanna do?" She said, "I wanna go and buy a house." And I thought, "Okay, we're going to need a lot more jars and a lot more coins."
I
But
love
at the
it.
same time, I was like, these conversations, they are sinking in. It is working.
Yeah.
These techniques, it's not
Oh,
magic. It's
yes.
actually real life, and it's
Yes.
working. And that's when I knew that, and talking to, her parents' friends, and they're like, "What are you doing with the pocket money? How? What? When?" It's like,
Hmm.
people need to know.
They
Parents
do.
need to know that it needs to start early. And I think I told you too, Cambridge University they did a study and they found that the kids' money mindset is in there by the age of 7. So
Which that is
that's young.
wow to me.
Yeah, yeah. And it's almost like, the habits that we teach them by the age of 7 become their lifelong financial autopilot.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
So why not give them that runway when they're little?
Mhm.
It it's, minutes a week. It doesn't cost a lot. It can be minimal cost. If you don't have money, I know people want a cashless society. Use shells or fake coins.
Yeah.
So, I've got these fake coins.
Okay. Yep.
So my girls get real money, but they still play with these,
Mhm.
and they,
And so
play
they
shop and whatever
understand.
else. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there's so many different ways of doing it, but it's just we've got to get started.
Yeah.
Every person on this earth deserves a fair start.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's make it easy for them.
And, I think too with now, I don't know what it's like in Australia, but I do know what it's like here in Canada, and, my kids are grown, but I have grandchildren, and the oldest
Mm.
3 are 7, and it's very they just want. They don't understand,
Yeah.
and they are
Yeah.
entitled. They feel entitled to be able to have
Yeah.
because the kid's at school, well, he has a tablet, he's got a phone, she does this, so they feel this
Mm.
entitlement. But when you can explain to them and show them that that is possible, but you get to earn that. Or, if grandma
Yeah.
gives them their $20 at their birthday, knowing that that $20, yes, it's mine. But if, unless there's something that I really need or want, if I can save half of that, right? And then
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
then it's teaching them about interest and about all of these things on how to grow their money,
How to grow
but
their money. Yeah.
they still have that. And they're like, what do you mean I can grow that money? If I can grow that money, then let's
Mm.
do that, right? Because it's an excitement. It's not
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
an expectation, I think.
That's right, yeah. I've got a nephew who's, just a little bit older than my oldest girl, and a few years ago, I picked them up from school, and I was taking my oldest to the bank to deposit her money, and he was like, "I'm gonna keep my money at home, and then it's safe, and I know that I've got it, and it's right there." I'm like, "But do you realize that when you give your money to the bank, they give you money back? They pay you." Then this is how I was explaining the interest at the time, so little.
Right.
They pay you money to put your money in their account, and no one can walk in there and just take it, but someone can walk into your home and just take it. And you could see these wheels just turning around, right? So we went and, we deposited the money, and he was eagle-eyed the whole time just watching what was happening, and then we went and got ice cream, which is our normal routine, as a little celebration type thing.
Yeah.
And then we got home, and my sister said he came up to me and said, "Mum, I wanna open a bank account." And I thought I thought, "Wow, yep, it worked, it worked."
It- right?
So, got it?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it
And the
is,
ripple
it's
effect that
explaining.
is causing for
Yeah.
you to be able to share that with your nephew, with your girls' friends at school and their families, like
Mm.
it is causing a ripple effect. And that's what the point is of you creating this
Exactly.
business.
Exactly. Let's make it easier for them, but also easier for us. I
Mhm.
I I can't imagine my girls being teenagers, let alone in their 20s or 30s. But I
Right.
would like to think that when they're in their 20s and 30s, I'm not having to be there as a financial support
Mhm.
most of the time. I know it's going to happen. There'll be
Yeah.
instances, and that's fine. That's part of being a parent, and it's part of what I'm planning for. But I don't need or shouldn't need to be there the whole time holding their hand.
Yeah.
I remember I was 27 buying my first house. I don't think I got my parents to even look over the contract. I did all of that myself.
That's
I
amazing.
had their input on, "Is this a okay house to buy?" Was the
Right.
first one. I had that input, but the back end of it was all me, and then managing it was all me. Whereas I see a lot of parents still doing that kind of management with their kids into their kids' 40s and 50s even.
I see a lot of that
Um,
even happening
but
that they're not even
it's so
buying a house,
confident.
right? You could
Yes.
buy a house at
Yeah. But
27.
how crazy is that? Yeah. But how crazy is that the kids these days are thinking, I'm never going to have enough money to buy a
Mhm,
house. It's like, well, you can. There's there's steps you need to take.
mhm.
So you can. You've yeah, yeah. It always gets to me. Always gets to me. So and I'm determined that my girls won't be there.
Yeah. Yeah,
That we can be there and, sitting having dinner like I do with my mother now. We'll sit, have dinner, and we can talk finance and business and watch
yeah,
the news. And that's what I'd love for my girls going forward as well.
yeah, for sure. Now let's go back a little bit and talk about you were in corporate for 21 years and you decided to leave, but you
Mm,
also you chose to have 2 babies on your own, which
I did.
I it's a beautiful story. I just love it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, some people think I might be a little crazy. Um, Interestingly though, so I remember I was 25 and I was talking with my sister, and we both said, "If we get to 35, we're not in a relationship and we don't have kids, then we'd look at doing having kids by ourselves." And that actually happened. And my big thing at the time was, if I get to 80 years old, will I regret not having children? And the
Mhm.
answer was yes. So, okay, let's do this. What kind of mindset do I need? And I took a year from 35 to 36 or so looking into how to do it. And honestly, we are so lucky in this day and age to be able to
Mhm.
do that.
Yeah.
The most support and the most supportive people I've found are actually people in their 70s and above. And the number of them who have said, "Oh, I wish I could have done that in my day." It's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And I thought that generation might be the ones that go, "Well, back up, no, you need a
Mhm.
guy, they need a father," all of that. No, they were the opposite.
Wow,
So it was
eh?
it was a very interesting process to go through. Yeah, very clinical, obviously,
Right,
but
right, absolutely,
pretty
yeah.
funny at the same time.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting, like, I mean, not just interesting, it's fascinating that you did it, you had a child, you had a daughter, and then you did it again, and you had another child, and you chose to that is fascinating to me.
It's, growing up as one of 4 kids, I can't imagine having only 1 child.
Mhm.
I think it would be quite lonely. As a mother, yeah, I could give them all the attention in the world, and that would be great, but I think it can also be there's that bit of a knife edge as to whether that child then turns out to be
Yep.
spoilt rotten or grounded. But I also look at it as a single parent and go, "What if something happens to me, even with other family around, they're still by themselves." So at the girls will have each other to lean on and help and support. And I've got to tell you, when I got pregnant the second time, I thought, really hope I have a girl because I know girls stick together. And at that point in time, I don't think I would have known what to do with a boy. And I don't think I would have had the energy for a young boy either. So I was really happy to have that second girl. Not that in Australia you're not allowed to choose, and I didn't do IVF anyway, so I couldn't choose what sex. It was just pure fluke that I ended up with
Yeah,
2 girls.
which is a
Pure
beautiful
fluke.
thing, just beautiful.
It is,
And when you
yeah,
brought
and
up
we'll put 'em together in court.
yeah, and they will, and I'm an only child, and, I often think about that, like, what would it have been like? My husband has a ton of siblings, you know,
Yeah.
with his own and then like stepbrothers and sisters as well,
Mm.
and it was scary for me, but I ended up having 4 children of my own,
Did it feel chaotic? Yeah. Did it feel chaotic for you?
very
Yeah,
chaotic and very, like,
and loud.
overwhelmed. I was very overwhelmed because I wasn't used to that, and having 3 kids myself,
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
got together, I my kids, we were very like, my mom and dad and I were very close. We did everything, right? Like, we were very, very close.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then, like, to see the family and how spread out and how chaotic it was, and not that it was anything wrong with it, it was just completely opposite to what I was used to, and it
Yes. Yeah.
scared me. It really did. I thought, "Oh my Lord in heaven, what will
Mm.
I do if my kids," because as they grow up, they're all gonna have their oh my god. But, it's crazy because my kids are really, really close, and I'm really close to my kids too, but when
Mm.
my parents passed away, it was hard. It was very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't even imagine that. My father has passed away, and even as someone coming from a larger family, I still yeah, mum's gotta be here for at least another 20, 30 years and rewrite some history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and as an only child, I can't imagine that. I look at my sister's got 3, and we live next door to one another, and so the kids are growing up almost like siblings, as well as cousins, and they're going to the same school, and I watch them, and I think if it was just my 2 girls alone, they would do really well together, but when you get 5 of them, and the youngest one started school this year, they just form this, like, ducks flying in a V. And they're their own little group and
Okay.
support system, and they bicker and they argue and they fight, and we're
Yeah.
constantly telling them, "You can't hit one another."
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it's a constant, but it's so good for them.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's interesting how it all works.
And it must be a blessing for your mom to be
Yeah.
able to see that as well, because I know as a mom, I have 5 grandbabies, and it's my 2 daughters that have the kids, and
Mm,
they don't go to the same school, but they're very close, and it's 5 of them, and they are like that.
mhm.
They love each other, and they would
It's,
protect each other, but
exactly, yeah.
look out,
It's,
right?
I think mum would agree and partly disagree with you, but purely, and this is going to sound I don't know, some people think it's fantastic, other people think it's just there's no way they could do it. But we live on a large block. Mum, dad bought 37 odd years ago, and we've subdivided. And at the moment, mum has a house down the back that she built for her and dad at the time. My sister's next to her, and then I'm there. So if my girls get angry at me, one goes to my sister and one goes down to grandma. So at times, grandma just has to lock the door as if she's not home just to get some peace. But I
Oh.
know at the same time she absolutely loves it and wouldn't have it any other way. And I like to think that we're keeping her young.
Oh, absolutely, you are.
So it's really yeah, so it's really great. And there's 3 other grandkids, 2 that live in Canada, and 1 on the other side of where we live, the city where we live in Brisbane. And yeah, it just it works. And yeah, I think mum loves it
Oh,
secretly
yeah.
more than
Yeah.
she said.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, but,
Yeah.
I hear a lot of that happening now moving forward, where because of the cost of living and everything, people are start tending to build homes together so that they can help and divide the cost, so to speak, you know?
Yeah. Well, for us, it was interesting because, and I don't think my sister would mind me saying this, but she also went down the same route as me, and she's a single mum. And my parents at the time said, I don't want to be driving 20 minutes in that direction. To come back the 20 minutes, to have to go 20 minutes in that direction to help pick up kids and drop them off.
Mhm.
So, how are we going to work this? And because of the block of land that they'd purchased so many years before, um, instead of buying houses nearby, they just said, "Why don't we subdivide?" So I'm currently living in what is my old family home where I grew up with my
Right.
girls, and then there's the other 2 new houses. So yeah, for us, and that was pre-COVID. So
Yep.
for us, it was more a necessity of as single mums, how do we get um, some support when we need it.
Mhm.
And look, for the first 18 months, I lived in a completely different city with my oldest daughter. We moved back here when she was 18 months old. And with one child, that was easy for me to do. But once you start going into two or more, and you
Mhm.
don't have a partner and you don't have other family in that area, you start thinking about, well, what are the options?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's that dynamic.
Yeah.
It's going to work for some people. It's going to completely backfire for others,
Yeah.
and another whole group won't even attempt it.
Yeah. True.
So it's
And that's okay.
yeah, it's absolutely, yeah. You've got to do what works for you
Absolutely.
and what you're comfortable with as well.
It's true, and I think one of the big things for me in doing this podcast is to allow women to see what's possible, even if it's not what's
Mm,
normal, so to speak, what's
exactly.
possible.
Yeah.
Because we can do anything, anything.
Absolutely. Yep. And for me, that goes back to school. My high school was very good at pushing that, but my parents also pushed it. You can do anything you
Yep.
want.
Yep.
So
Anything.
I did. I had the 2 girls. I think I started my MBA while I was trying to get pregnant with my first child. Had a little break once she was born, and when my second was 9 weeks old, I went, "Yep, gotta finish this." So with a baby and, a toddler, I not only finished my MBA, but I moved house twice within 6 months, and I was working 4 days a week. So it's possible.
It is.
If you can put your mind to it, you'll
Yeah.
find a way of getting it done.
Yeah.
You'll find a way.
Yeah.
It's just having that belief in yourself,
Yeah.
knowing what kind of support system you have around you as well,
Mhm.
and where you can draw on different things. So even now, I'm spending a lot of time on my business. And when I was in corporate, didn't have a lot of time either. So I'm not ashamed to say that I get someone in to do the garden work, and I get someone in each fortnight to clean the house. And that gives me back 3 to 4 hours plus, every fortnight. And that's massive.
Absolutely. And it gives you no stress because it's
Mm,
taken care of. It gives you
exactly.
more feeling of being complete and having that extra time to spend with your children than you would
Yes.
if you were trying to get that done as well.
And not only that, the time with your children is then far more relaxed and you can be you
Oh,
because you're not thinking about,
mhm.
"Oh, I've got to do that cleaning later," or, "Oh, the lawn needs mowing," which in Australia, unlike Canada, we don't get snow where we are. So
Yes.
summertime, the lawn needs mowing every single week.
Yeah,
Last year, we had quite a lot of rain and you could have mowed it twice a week. And in winter, you can just get away with every 2 weeks. So it's not something that is seasonal for us. It's a
yeah,
constant.
yeah.
So taking just little things that in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't cost a lot,
Mhm.
but it pays a huge amount.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I look at it. So yeah, I think put your mind to it. You can do it. Have the belief in yourself,
Mhm.
um, and look at where you can branch out and get some of that support and help. And yeah, look at doing
And there
it. Why
can
not?
be a gap, and I even said that, like you said before, that might not be something that other people would do, but if it works
Mm,
for me, then that's what's important. We don't
yeah.
have to always agree, and that's the thing in this world people seem to
Mm,
forget. We don't have to agree because I
no.
don't understand. If I could have lived like you just said with my mom and dad on the same property and my I would do that in a second. Why?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that was keeping us close. That was keeping
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
because life
Yeah.
happens and it happens so fast.
And in the blink of an eye,
That's right.
in the
Mhm.
blink of an eye,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's scary. If you look at there's a book that Dan Martell wrote, buy back your time. And he goes in from a more of a business perspective on how to
Mhm.
buy back your time, but you can apply that same principle to your life as well. And what would you rather do? Would you rather have that really great moment with your kids where you're present, 100% present? Or would you prefer all of your time to be with your kids, you being stressed out, and them getting about 50% of you? And
Yeah.
I know since I finished in corporate, within a month, my household started to just calm a little, and within 2 months, the whole house had a completely different vibe to it. Everything was just calmer. The girls were calmer. I was calmer. Even doing my own business, I was calmer,
Yeah.
because I had that, control over my time and the flexibility, that I needed for the girls. I was also coming out of a lot of burnout as well.
Oh, for sure.
So but
Corporate.
the whole house and people have commented on it. I'm like, I didn't realize it was that bad.
Right?
If I'd known that, maybe I should have done it a bit sooner, but things happen for a reason.
That's right.
I don't always know what they are, but they happen for a reason.
They do.
But yeah, just having that whole calm come over the house, just it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a word of advice. Those are words of advice. And I think that people really get to listen. What you're doing is a tremendous service for people with young children to realize
Thank
what
you.
they can see as possible. Not only does it help our kids, but it helps us as parents so that we don't have that
Absolutely.
extra burden and worry because we always will worry about our children. We will always worry about them.
Right.
Doesn't matter
Absolutely, and
how old
I
they are.
we always do, and I like to think the work that I'm doing now, for some parents, they're probably learning a bit just from what I'm teaching them to do with their kids.
Yeah.
And that's really important too, because that means they're going to be better off going forward.
Mhm.
So it's yeah, I like to think it's a whole 360 kind of transition, but yeah, let's build the confidence in our kids, kind of
Mhm.
confidence that most people don't even realize they don't have,
Yeah.
until it's potentially too late or they then have to scramble.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I
Let's do it now. Let's do it while they're young.
That's right. And, you're bringing it into somebody's awareness, and once it's brought in because I never would have thought this. Of course, I had when my children were young, we put money away into a school education fund for them
Mm,
and so on and so forth, but still, it wasn't teaching them how they could. I remember my dad telling my
exactly.
youngest son, who was all about business from the time he was very young, "Keep half
Yeah.
of everything you make. Keep half of everything you make." And he
Mm,
did that for a long time.
yeah.
He did,
Yep.
and I mean,
It's
now he's definitely busier and working hard and establishing himself, so it's not quite as easy, but he still has that mindset, and that doesn't go
yeah.
away.
Yeah. He's got that knowledge that it's muscle memory.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
yeah, we've got to put whether it's not might not be 50% anymore, but it
yeah,
might be 10%.
that's right.
Yeah, there's something if pay yourself first.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
effectively teaching them pay yourself first, and then everything else will fall in line.
I really like
Yeah.
that. I really do. Pay yourself first. That's wonderful. I love that.
Mm.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much,
good.
Adele. I mean, I couldn't have been more blessed with the women that I have met so far when I started really working on this podcast and putting my heart and soul into what my passion is. And I see that you
Oh, you're
have that
doing so
same
great.
spark. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're all here to support one another and help one another, and what you're doing is just as important as what I'm doing. You know, you're helping women,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a big thing.
And we get to
Yeah,
empower each
need
other
more
and
of it.
build each other up and be there for each other and, help each other and show people what's possible when they can like look at you can listen to Adele today
Mm,
and you can get some information, and then you can reach out and you can learn more and you can help your kids out, help yourselves out.
exactly.
And it's
Yeah,
important that we start young
exactly.
with our kids, especially in this day and
It
age.
is. It is, it is. So, if people want to watch my socials, I have, some freebies that I put out now and then, and they
Awesome.
can go to my website and see what I do too, and you've got the details so
Yes.
they
Yes,
can go there and see for themselves and contact me if they need to as well, but
absolutely.
yeah, little
And I
tips
will
and
be
tricks
putting all
all
of
the way
that in
along.
the show notes as well, and I will also when we do these podcasts, I always ask for a headshot, and, there's beautiful headshots of you, and there's one with you and your
Yeah,
girls, and I really, really love that, so I
yeah.
think I'd
They
love to
Do you
use
know,
it.
they love that photo shoot. They
Beautiful.
had so much fun. Yeah.
It's so
It was
sweet, I love
so awesome watching them. Yeah. My oldest kept telling her teacher that she was going to do some modeling for Mummy.
love it. Yeah, that's great. It's great. Well,
Yeah, it
thank
was
you
a
very
great day.
much, and we will be checking back
Oh,
in, and
thank
I
you.
will be sharing, all about you on my socials as well, and, I really appreciate your time today, and, I'm sure
Oh,
we'll speak
I
again
appreciate your
soon.
time. Thank you.
Thanks, Adele.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for listening today on The Art of Being Unstoppable. Until next time, you have a beautiful day. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Art of Being Unstoppable. Remember, your story matters, your voice matters, and your power is limitless. If you love today's conversation, subscribe, share it with the women in your life, and leave a review to help more women discover their unstoppable selves. I'm Vicki McDougall, and I'll see you in the next episode, because your journey to unstoppable starts now.